All right, welcome everyone to the Fall 2022 Nevada, California Summit. I am the regional president. On our team, I also have Anthony Chimpatazzi, Hestia Sertica, and I think who joining us later will be Chanya. So really happy to have everyone here for making time for us on a Saturday morning. So hopefully we can give you a crash course on a lot of things Phi Theta Kappa, and as well as how to prepare for the upcoming write-ups. We know that it's write-up season, so we will be kind of giving you some extra tips on write-ups. We came back recently from the headquarters Regional Institute, which is a training for regional officers. So we actually have some fresh information to share with you all today. All right, so let us start with a little icebreaker on if you could put in the chat your name, your the name of your college and your chapter, when did you become PTK member, or if there's something you hope to learn in the summit, that would be awesome. All right, so while we do that, I'm gonna start as an introduction for the regions in the Phi Theta Kappa. So there is 4 divisions in Phi Theta Kappa, division 1, 2, 3, and 4. We are considered division 4. So we have our, it's actually really interesting because our Hawaii is actually the international president right now, and so we had a really fun time meeting her in the fall leadership conference. I also got to meet our division's representatives, and they were all super nice. And if you ever need to speak with an international officer, I would really recommend reaching out. And of course, we're always available to help you when it comes to any questions in your chapter as well. So when it comes to the Nevada, California region, I would recommend checking out our website. We have a lot of colleges in Nevada, California, and a lot of chapters. I believe the last number we got was around 89 chapters. And so it's a great source of resources when it comes to, I know we have a regional project called Chapters United, collaborating with other chapters, asking us to help you. We're a large region and we have a lot of resources. You can always find our contact information on our website, as well as conferences, events, projects, and a lot of the information we'll be talking about could be found at either our website or the international website. And we'll also be putting our contact information in the chat later, so that if you do need to contact us, we're available to you. So I'm going to pass the torch to Anthony, who will be sharing about honors in action.
I was a little bit muted. Yes. Hi, guys. So as you guys know, right now it's honors in action season, right? So let's get a little bit into more what is honors in actions. But first, let's also get a definition of one of the people, like Susan Edwards, of what they would say honors in action is. Well, it's to provide opportunities for colleges students to grow as scholars and as leaders. And today's or this year's, that you guys know, our honors study guide is about play. Go to the next slide. It's about play. And through this, we're going to look at the table of contents of what is honors in actions, how to conduct the undergraduate research, advise the best honors in actions project ever, and we're going to look more in depth into a rubric. And this is one of the main parts that we have to look at, because as big as your honors in action project can be and as much impact you can, it also comes down into how you write this. Sometimes even the best top chapters are winning by small little margins, just specifically on how they are doing their grammar and annotations for them. And then we're also going to talk about the honors in actions hallmark questions. So this is the honors in action study guide. As you guys may know already, it is the arts and science of play. And most likely all of you guys have already read throughout the sub-themes and which one you guys have decided. And as you know, if we go to the next page, these are specifically the routes that you guys should have done. All right, so let's go again to the next one. So honors and actions, as you guys know, is to inform in actions. We're basically going from thinking globally to then implementing more locally. And we're trying to get opportunities to learn for your club members. We're trying to create career developments also for your members and for yourself, and to think critically. Next one. So how are we going to be conducting undergraduate research. We start by brainstorming research and everything, right? This is what we have been doing throughout this year. And even at this point, you may also want to, let's say, if you're still in some actions or about to wrap up some actions, we may want to think some brainstormings of what we can do slightly at the end, maybe to do some hanging fruits type actions to just a little bit buffer up your honors and action. Next one. And as a result, if we still want to do brainstormings, we want to create this creative freedoms with every member to join here and to state their ideas of what they do. We don't want to ostracize anybody, how crazy or how, or even still more realistic it is, but still too basic it is an idea, as we may need them later on. Next one. So advice from the best honors and action projects. So we always want to create an agenda, and this agenda specifically is going to ask with our minutes. I know a portion of you guys may already have your agendas with minutes. If you guys don't, we should start already doing our minutes, specifically how we're wrapping up our actions, and also setting up agendas when you want to meet up when you're writing these write-ups, right? You also want to set up goals specifically. If you guys haven't, please set up goals. Those goals are going to put yourself also into the timeline that you guys want to do. And the other thing, just to save also even more time, we also want to create Google folder drives. Here you can put in all the pictures, you can put in all your minutes, your recordings, even interviews, questions that you have set up, or even some other types of documents, like, how has it impacted specifically your officers when you volunteer or do a certain type of action. Again, the main part about these are just so when you're writing up, everything becomes much more easier and it doesn't become as chaotic later on. And as a result, you're right, also take notes all throughout the meetings, look at the honors and action questions. That's another main thing. As you're right now in the beginning to the end and then to write up, you always want to look back at the rubric. You always want to also see the question that you have presented yourself through this, because we don't want to create a whole action, right? In a whole, our research and actions in our conclusion, if it bases off that questions. The readers who read this will look at that and evaluate that. And if it kind of disaligns, you will probably lose points from this. And obviously still look at the rubric, see what else you can add from it. For example, this year, my chapter, we were looking at the rubric and we wanted to then create Google Docs forms on every action that we did. So immediately they write how it impacted them, what did they learn, and how their perspective on the question we did kind of went in. And the other thing is, once specifically the time is to write, which will probably be real close for you guys right now, is write, and always double check your grammars. Next page. So let's get into a little bit more into the rubric here, right? So the academic rigor and research, right? So there's 34 points. You're going to need to answer the research questions, research objectives, and academic research. Again, remember, your research is the one that's going to then influence your actions and influence your write-up, right? And you're also going to do your research conclusion. Now, let's say, for example, your research first says X and Y, but later on you discover it's not X and Y, maybe it's C and Y. You also want to be transparent and write how that research question may have been molded, how this question may have been false in your first assumptions or not. And obviously here is biography citations. These are quite important because they would want to specifically want to write in APA format, and they also check a lot how you write that, and you may lose points. Sometimes even the top ones, they just lose slight little points just because they didn't do their APA citation that correctly, maybe 1 or 2. So I would recommend going to your librarian, checking also your advisors, if they are from English professors also, to check how you're writing this. And here in the bottom, it also says spelling and grammar. You're going to see that a lot. So always check that. Next. And the other one is service and actions. Again, we want to basically document all our stuff of how we did our action. What were our objectives? How did it connect with PTK honor study topic, right? The communications we did. Maybe the communications could be, if you work with your school, how did you communicate with the college president? Or if you work with an outside organization, how did you communicate? Do you still have communication with it, right? Think about these and try to write them out, because we also want to see this communication built, not as much as college project, but it's still pretty nice. And obviously heightened awareness of self and community and relationship of global issues is this project that you do quite big and so on. Not big like in your impact, but like the question itself, how broad it was to then how much you kind of narrowed it down. And here again at the bottom, it's spelling and grammar. It's quite important. Next page, please. And then the impact. So again, I would highly advise with any other actions you guys do, or when you guys have time, please get everybody together and you guys need to kind of reflect back on the actions you guys did, as the impact here is quite important. First of all, the impact you did to that community, right? But also the impact of your own officers. As you can see here, we have, you also want to research the quantitative and qualitative outcomes, right? So for example, if you did a certain type of workshop, okay, great. How can you quantify it? How many members were there? And also qualitative of like, how important was it? Did you see then later on those members take even more actions on your information, or did they say a certain type of comment? Those are quite important things to kind of see if you can do, right? And then right reflections, contributing and improving issues with clarity, defining the purpose of scope, and such on. And also here again, you have spelling, grammar. Again, one last thing for this page, I do want to say is you guys are allowed to have 3 images, and those 3 images can be anything that you want. And with that, what you can do is specifically also use those images to show your research as qualitative and quantitative. For my project last year, for my chapter, we did a screenshot specifically of a workshop that we did that showed the person doing talking, the slides, and also the amount of participants. The amount of participants we had were around 54, but also it showed a pop-up of a comment saying, oh, wow, I never knew wildfires were this important in our ecosystem, right? Just by that image, if you guys can have the opportunity, that's worth more in world, it's worth more, right? And when someone reads it, it may even spark their interest a bit more. Just a little bit of tip of advice there. Next page. All right, so academic rigors of research, right? So we need to have 8 academic researchers. Again, we need to properly vet them. They need to be around a certain type of age. If I'm correct, it would be 7 years. Oh wait, no, 5 years or later. And you also need to properly APA cite them. Again, I would recommend inviting the librarian. They can help you out, creating that research questions, provide different points of views. We don't want specifically a question that can be answered with a yes or no. We want it to be thought of a little bit much more harshly, right? So for example, societally, we think of this, but in reality, we dive even further. This is what it should be, so to speak. Make sure that your research actions and final conclusions align. Again, this is the major part. Also, we may be so engrossed in what we're doing, but if it detracts, then we will lose points. In addition, even how we write it, and this is something I will speak later on. Develop critical thinking skills, how you're going to be writing it, and provide global perspective, how that topic that you're doing, let's say for system of place, in the questions that you did, how is that providing global perspectives? For example, this year's honors and actions that my chapter did, we were doing Sesame Street and its efficacy on children's impact on their schooling and life. In a global perspective, it's quite well, and it can actually do a little bit of substitutions and learning for these kids, as we saw in news and how they, tackle certain types of aspect, but also have different characters around the world that align to their sort of need. But here where I live, it doesn't really do it, right? So that's kind of like provide global perspective, right? So this assumptions that we did that Sesame Street could substitute something, it's not realistic to where I live in California, as the environment for children is not as deprived in some aspects. But also here we have more preschoolers that are more in action doing something compared maybe somewhere else. So you kind of want to provide that global perspective in a sense. And right, provide formal citations, check consistency and structures, make sure the study APA citations, and how to make good biography annotations. Yeah, next slide. And then resourcefulness, right? You want to do a challenging project. If you had obstacles, describe them, and how did you solve them? For example, maybe you were trying to do a lot of actions, right? They all fell to the ground. Why was that? How did you solve them? Did you continue? Did you go to a different avenue by changing something, or did you ask someone else to get help, right? Or did you just stay in what you guys already had at that moment? Try to be transparent throughout that. And yeah, and then deductions of points if the chapter did not show clear evidence that the chapter was resourceful in the way it approached the academic research, right? So the exercise of leadership and the leadership development. And that is the creation of action pieces of the project that addresses the real world problems, incorporate efforts and outreach. And then also provide details of evidence and elaborations. And obviously with that, your problem solving skills from there. Next. So the exercise of leadership and leadership development provides every member a leadership opportunity and opportunity to personal growth. This is quite important in the fact that sometimes we may want to do everything, and I'm looking here mostly at the chapter presidents because that was me last year, and I had to learn specifically, as much as I want to volunteer in all of it, I still need to create opportunities for my members to grow as leadership. Maybe that is for members to different other members from different other officer positions, or even just regular members to reach out maybe to administrators, or to reach out of outside identities to create something, or to create these certain subcommittees, right? We want to, again, create leadership growth to these members, because this is what Honors in Action is also. And also include and explain any education or training that the team had. For example, let's say you went to let's say you had an opportunity to shadow something that's related to your PTK project right now, right? Why not explain that a little bit, right? So for example, last year, we did wildfire preventions. We did a shadowing and tour guide with a wildfire prevention chief officer there that taught us about forest thinning. And everyone in my team got educational training on what it is to be a wildfire prevention person, but also what is control burning and what is forest thinning, right? Kind of show that educational growth that your members are having, and explore out of your comfort zone, right? You don't want to do everything via Zoom. Well, if that's your limitations, then yes, but if it's not, try to explore, be a little bit more assertive and other things. And obviously competitive edge also counts if you want to do those opportunity trainings that can relate to your project also. Next. All right, service and actions. What did you learn in your honors and action projects, your objectives, and what was the motivations to do your honors and action project, right? So what was the motivation? Was there something throughout, your last year or previous years? Because for me, last year's honors and action project was because we saw the orange sky and how that affected a lot of people to even be more close inside, indoors, right? And then obviously, do not act backwards. This is, for example, if you miss something and you're trying to act backwards or do like reverse things, it may not be well. Like, let's say you did your actions first and then you're trying to go backwards to find research. Yeah, so at least that's not going to work 100% that much. So ask yourself how your research could be incorporated into the actions, right? This is the timeline that we want to go, and your actions should reflect your research, right? And you also want to get awareness of global issues and appreciation for lifelong informed actions. Next. Oh, yeah. So cooperative effort and outreach. The chapter's projects reach a variety of audience, including all the following: the college community and others beyond the region. Here I always like doing specifically Zoom stuff if you guys going to do a workshop, because you can, for me, in my understanding, you can reach out a lot more, right? So for example, again, I'm going back through my last year's honors and actions. We had everybody in our sister community colleges, right? And we also had people from Spain, Brazil, Peru in that call. And we also had other people from experts that are around the United States, right? So if you can say that, right, that there's a diversity of things, then yes, right? So you're reaching out more than your community college and and beyond the region in that regard. that's a little tip that I want to give there. And there's a clear and compelling evidence that communications among participants and individuals and organizations was effective and efficient, and that the shared a common objective, right? So if they're going to that, let's say, workshop and Zoom, they're sharing a common objective, learning this type of information that you're giving them. Next. Impact. The project made a substantial contribution to improving an issue. Without questions, the project had significant short-term impact and clear potential for long-term impact. The project's outcome were exponential in both quantitative and qualitative, right? So was it only specifically quite short, right? Was it, let's say if you did a toy drive, right? One may think right now with a toy drive that it would just be short, but you can also try to further it, saying like, well, if it's a toy drive, a kid would receive this type of toy enacting and play. Great. But the outcome, the long-term impact could be that children may seem more close to home, may seem more loved in this regard, and could later on maybe go. But that's a little bit more hypothetical. One example I can give right now that my chapter is doing is that we created a childcare task force in our community college, where this task force is specifically trying to create a preschool in our community college. So the short impact right now was that it is creating a task force. So for hopefully for 5 or 6 years later, there could be a preschool, right? That's a short, and then our long term here would be, well, later on in those years, we're hopefully helping out students that are student parents and also students who are learning childhood development and are specifically teachers or trying to become a teacher there, for an example there. Next. So we also want to think globally and act locally. Who are the people in your research directly impact the community? And how did you grow and develop CIS scholars in as a chapter, right? So these are also some of the things that we also want to think about when we're trying to do the impact, right? So it could be outwards to our community, but it can also be inwards in our community. And then research and actions had measurable qualities and qualitative and quantity outcomes. And understand the importance of lifelong intentional services and contributions to issues discussed in the honors study topic. When you're writing about it, they will understand how that honors topic study impacted you and how much, importance was it, right? So how we write it also kind of tells that story. Next. So presentations, again, grammar and consistency. Grammar is one of the main things. Again, you can have an amazing HA scholar or HA project, but if the grammar, the APA citations is off, you're going to go much more lower to that, because I mean, we all want to do a type of projects, but we also want to be recognized. And later in the year, we get evaluated and we get compete with the 1,300 chapters. And we may want to get that award specifically, right? And trying to win something and recognize our values. And another thing is consistency. Something I want to specifically emphasize here is once you're writing your honors in action, have everybody in your members or who has helped you be in a circle and specifically communicate the timeline you guys want to do, right? And make one person write about that, whichever ideas, how it impacted a student, how maybe this came before something. And the reason why I say this is because when we're writing our HIA or Hallmark Awards, we want consistency also in narrations. And we have so many writers through this presentation. What we will have is a jumble of different perspectives and different types of narrations, which could impact negatively your type of writing and how someone's going to read it. You mostly want to have a rule of 1 to 2. Obviously, those writers would be the main people that are writing it, right? But you can help out by giving your input, but make them put it in their own perspectives so it still comes more fluently. And don't lose overall these points and make mistakes. So remember to proofread and edit a lot. Next. So honors and actions, Hallmark questions. So quickly, we can go to the next one. So, here are some that are like, provide a brief abstract or summary of your honors in action projects, including your academic research, actions and addresses that you need in your community, right? The impact of your project, and 2, what theme in current honors program guide did each chapter focus on? For example, my chapter is focusing on system supply, right? And then summary of your research and objectives. Next. And here, I would say right now, take a screenshots a little bit so about these types of questions. Again, these examples are in the HA project, so you can easily try to search them up. There's also if I'm correct, in your honors guide. So don't fret if you can't take a screenshot right now, but these are some of the questions that are being asked. And yeah, so the deadline for this is January 18, 2022 at 3 p.m. PST. Still continue on me, right? Okay, so let's also talk about a little bit more of college project, right? First, let's also go with Jennifer Stanford. One quote that she basically gave: help members gain personal development skills and experience. So next slide. So college project, the purpose of it is that PTK will be helping the school itself, right? That's the main thing. You guys can develop specific types of, types of research or types of project ideas, but we have to work closely to our college project. So then we can ask them, hey, these are our inputs, but what do you think we need to help out our community college at this point, right? So how we can be by contacting your college faculty and assessing with a project that benefits your college. Again, with your college project, you must also work what you and your college agree on. And whereas the HA, you have greater freedom. Remember, this is specifically trying to gain in that communications with your school and your HA. This also is quite beneficial with your club, as you're being recognized by your school more, right? You're creating a more long relationship with whoever is, let's say it can be your college president, it can be some of the administrators or staff, to know who you are. And later on, also, if you want to get some fundings, you have evidence like, hey, we're doing these types of jobs and that benefits our school, right? So these can include things like community college project completion, corps, conducting surveys, faculty appreciation. And some of my examples could also be that maybe your school wants to revamp their website designs and they need to humanize their website by creating videos. You can help from there. That was one of my chapters, community college or college project types examples, right? Next. So timelines and tips: strive to start discussions at the very least in the summer. I would say yes. So in the summer, at least try to start sometimes maybe thinking, or maybe they're doing some other things. And by the end of summer, already have a rough draft of your plans and have already met with the appropriate people. This could also just be, if you're gonna work with the college president or trying to get herself, maybe introduce yourself. Maybe the president of your chapter, or even you can just go there, introduce yourself. Hey, blah, blah, I'm Anthony, I'm in PTK. Even doing that, you're already starting a relationship. And later on, you can go furthermore and, maybe pitch the idea later on. And then when school begins, start reserving rooms, contacting speakers, and creating flyers. Again, we want to make ourselves visible, right? And keep in touch with everyone at least twice a week to check or for updates. Now, this is quite important. In your homeworks here, they're going to ask you specifically, how was your relationship with the college, as this is the main focus of it. So did you only contact them once, finish your things and left? No. You want to stay consistent and basically make them still be visible. You ask them for help, you're helping with them. Did you give a thank you letter? Great. Are you then inviting them to maybe an induction ceremony later on, or an event, so you can further that contact? Great. And those are things that they also want to see. Next. So college project hallmark or write-up. So must be a maximum of 1,200 words in totals in the entire application, and they're a maximum score of 85 points, not 100 like before. And it's graded on 5 categories: preparations, leadership development, cooperative efforts, communications, and impact, and the presentation. Right? The presentation being spelling, grammar, and perfect. Again, spelling, grammar throughout this whole hallmark is going to be the most important things. This can, again, separate you from the top 10, top 100 quite easily. And then you have, up to 4 points each for evidence provided, outstanding evidence, satisfactory, good evidence, and some evidence implied rather than explicit, and also minimal or no evidence, that's 1 point, right? So we want the 4 points, which is outstanding evidence. We want to make it detailed. Again, this is when you do a lot of minutes, you record the amount of time you also may deal with these administrators or faculties also. Next. So college project hallmark awards write-up preparations. Again, your chapter should review the college mission statement appropriate before a meeting with admins. See what is their goal. Usually, a lot of them would be different, but even so, maybe there's one type of gem that you want to maybe capitalize on more, right? And then chapter met with admins to determine the project. Admin had the opportunity to discuss their project ideas with the chapter before the project was selected. Right, so we want to then still do those minutes and projects directly supported college missions and current positions, right? That's one of the questions also asked. What does it relate with the current college missions? And then leadership development. What have your chapters specifically gained from this, right? So chapters have built significant leadership roles and implementing projects. For example, last year for our college project, what we did, we created a humanized version of our website by creating these types of videos. And a lot of our members learned a lot similar to how to record, how to do a lot of like film type stuff with a lot of film experts. So that was something that kind of created their leadership. First of all, understanding new content, but also even communicating with these people and trying to get their contacts later on further. And then chapters took time to access areas they needed to strengthen and to learn. Something that you can also do around here is if you had enrolling or previous enrolling PTK students to this year, you guys can look at your previous college projects, basically points, and see what from there you guys can improve, or even do a self-evaluation throughout or midst of your project to see what else can you do to improve, right? What do you think can be lacking at that point? And then chapter members effectively organize their project's responsibilities. Next. College project hallmark awards write-up, right? So corporate efforts and communications. We want to demonstrate the flexibility and also the creativity of addressing any opportunity and challenges and obstacles, right? So was it first trying to create weekly meetings with a lot of people? Again, so when you're working with maybe the college president or even other types of faculties, their time is quite important. So you need to show that flexibility and want of being communicated with them. Best, it could be maybe communicating once a week or 2 times a week, but showing that type of continuation and consistency, not that it was only 2 meetings and then boom, we finished the project. We still want consistency and trying to communicate with them. And then chapters work with others to effectively carry out projects. This could also even be trying to have even regular members or even outside members work with you in a sense, or even administrators and such and forth on. Chapters provided stakeholders with regular updates throughout the project. Again, that's you just communicating back. And then the impact, again, we want to show the quantitative data showing the project's outcome. And we also want to show the qualitative data showing the project's outcome. And demonstrate the outcomes addressed in the college goals in the projects, and demonstrate the meanings of reflections of how the chapter members grew in professional and scholar leader base throughout the project. As I said previously, again, example, our college project doing videos for our college, we basically showed quantitative specifically on students who viewed these types of videos, and qualitative is also students who participated in those videos and shared their outcome, and now we have it posted throughout the school. And we understand that a lot of students will have this peer-to-peer interactions, which could grow a little bit more. Next. And then presentations, again, there's a lot of spelling and grammars and futile, right? So entries well written and essays to follow. Again, this is one of the major things about the presentations, how you're going to write it. And it's same as HA, you can do a really good type of college project, but if your writing is not consistent or there is few errors, you may fall in. maybe that's not your goal. Maybe it's just to get those 5 stars. That's great. But if you want to be a little bit more competitive and want to, get a prize for how well you're doing, you have to be concise and be conscious about your spellings and grammars. And yeah, easy mistakes could also avoid you from winning something. So proofread and proofread. Next. So we're going to be briefly describe the college project and how they directly supported the college missions and current things. So we want to describe the planning process. Who are we basically contacting? Who are we trying to see that is correlating, right? And if acceptable, to list job titles, departments rather than individuals, full names. So when we write it, let's say it's a Edward Shorts, commissioner of marketing, blah blah blah. We prefer just to do the person who was in marketing, and then what knowledge, skills, and abilities, and the strengths of those areas, and also even before implementing those things, and then carry out the projects and communications, and who did you collaborated, right? The rubric also will be more specific about this, and what were the quantitative and qualitative outcomes of your projects, including the project's impacts on members. And lastly, basically describe this project to help develop and hone your chapter's relationship with the college administrators, right? Were you invited maybe to something that the school or those administrators were doing, or are you inviting them by doing a different other project, maybe your service project or other things? Again, please take a screenshot, and if you want more information, you can also find it in the PTK website. Next. And remember, the due date is January 18, 2023 at 3 p.m. PM PST. Thanks.
Thank you, Anthony. So next I'd like to welcome Hestia for presenting the regional projects.
Hi guys. So I will be going over regional projects. Regional projects is for chapters to achieve at least 3-star chapter status. Chapter must complete a minimum of 2 of the 7 regional projects I will be going over. In addition to the 2 projects is required for the international recognition, which is the HIA and the college project. So the regional project, it is designed annually to promote the ideals of the Phi Theta Kappa Honor Society and the chapters placed within the surrounding community. Each region has its own set of projects broken down into 7 categories in order to be considered for the region's most outstanding chapter. A chapter must accomplish projects in at least 2 of those categories, and those categories are Chapters United, Founders Day, Environmental Outreach, Community Project, Career Readiness and Mentorship, Cultural Project, and Supporting Student Success. Next. Jessie. Thanks.
Oh, okay.
Chapters United, the purpose of this project is to encourage cooperation and communication between the various chapters located within the region. It is required that there be at least 2 chapters working together and show proof of communication that is both clear and consistent, as well as participation between the 2 chapters. Next. Here comes my cat. Founders Day. The goal of this project is to raise awareness of Phi Theta Kappa on your campus via activities of celebration and outreach. Phi Theta Kappa celebrates its founding on Founders Day, which falls on November 19th each year. The presidents of 2-year institutions in Missouri were responsible for the establishment of Phi Theta Kappa in 1918. Next. For the environmental outreach, the purpose of this project is to encourage and promote environmental stewardship in your community. Chapters are required to identify potential environmental issues within their college or community, explain what steps were taken to address the concern, the benefits from the chapters, course of action such as economically, environmentally, socially, etc., and what can be done to promote further action in this issue. In addition, chapters are required to explain how they intend to encourage further action on this issue. Here's my kitty, you guys. Sorry. Next. Community project. Participating in community service and giving back to the neighborhoods they call home are two of the desired outcomes of this project. The purpose of this award is to acknowledge the community service that our member do to benefit of both of their institutions and the surrounding community. One of the goals is to raise awareness about positive contributions that our member make via activities like volunteering and social work. Another objective is to encourage members to get involved in such activities. I will get back to you, Charlie. For next, career readiness and mentorship. The objective is to develop interpersonal skills such as working together as a team, communicating effectively, making connections with others, and managing one's time effectively. Finally, college students begin to develop the skills necessary for entering the workforce. Next, Jessie. Cultural project. The purpose of this project is to learn from overseas students, perspectives and appreciate the benefits of cultural diversity. And through the perspective of foreign students by achieving an awareness and appreciation of the importance of diversity in cultural norms. Second is to broaden the scope of both your personal and professional networks by getting to know individuals who come from a variety of different kinds of experiences. Lastly, next, Jessie. Lastly is supporting student success. This mission is to educate and empower our members who may be immigrants, refugees, first generation Americans, working adults, or parents. This is to make an informed decision about the opportunities available to them. All of these are on our website that you guys can take a look. And let me see. Oh, yes, Charlie, this is meeting for all members, not for the presidents. You're welcome to our meeting. And lastly, this project is like, don't take it too harsh, but you know, it should be an easy write-up. It should be one paragraph, and I think that's it. Let me know in the chat if you guys have any other questions.
Thank you, Hestia. Can you hear me? Hello? Okay. Thank you. Next, I'd like to welcome Chanya.
Hi, I'm Chenya. I'm going to guide you on 5-star chapter development, or the 5-star chapter plan. So here is a, Jessie, can you move to next, please? Thank you. Okay, so here is a brief summary and the big picture of the PTK chapter star system. As a PTK chapter, you have 5 levels of involvement, and each level is labeled by stars. There are 1-star, 2-star, 3-star, 4, 5. So total 5 levels. And each level has a different procedures. And the purpose we have such a system is to encourage your chapter activities and participation to develop student leadership and communication skills one step at a time. And here's the important part. Each level must be complete in progression, and each level build on the next. This means you have to complete the requirement of being 1-star, then move to the next. For more detailed requirement, please go to ptk.org/5stars or search on Google PTK 5-star chapter plans. Next, please. Okay, so here is the one star level. The key word here is building chapter foundations. The chapter should complete the following requirements at the 1-star level. First is to organize a membership campaign. Campaign should include, but not limited to, creating awareness of PTK on campus among students and faculties, inviting eligible students, conducting informal meeting about benefits, and hosting an introduction ceremony to students. And after that, you submit the chapter annual report to headquarters. This is traditionally done by your advisor. And this report should include uploading eligibility student list and your chapter other progress. And this report submission is every once a year. So next year is due on January 20. So it doesn't matter which star you're working on, you should submit it, because this is how the headquarters knows your chapter progress. And lastly, submit your chapter bylaw, aka rules, to headquarters if there are any changes or you are a new chapter to getting started. Next, please. So for the next is 2-star level. The keyword here is organizing chapter leadership and engaging members. So for the 2-star level, it's really important to have your leadership campaign in this one. You really had to focusing on growth and leadership. It's also important to meet with your advisor and discuss different duties and your chapter structure. In this way, you guys don't get confused about like who's supposed to be communicating. So in order to fulfill 2 stars, you have to have at least 2 campaign meeting and 2 officers, and set a 5-star goal, which means you want to aim a higher level engagement. And don't forget to submit the new officers on your headquarters report. Next, please. Okay, 3-star level. 3-star level is getting involved at the regional level. Here are some things you can do. Consider being involved at the regional level. Number 1, campaign for a regional office or host a regional meeting in a leadership role, or participate in a regional project or chapter collaboration with at least 2 other chapters for an activity, or have a chapter advisor serve on the regional board council, or chapter representatives participate virtually or in person in at least 1 regional meeting or regional sponsored event. That means if you are the representative of your chapter and your chapter fulfilled 1-star level, 2-star level, and congratulations, now your chapter is at least a 3-star level at this moment. I know. Okay, next, please. All right, let's move to the 4-star level. So the 4-star level focusing on developing a college project and building administrative support. We already talked about in the previous slide, the college project. It is designed to strengthen the chapter's relationship with college administration. And plus, this project should be support your college mission. In this way, you and your school is working toward the same direction. And so they are more willing to support you. And the second requirement is enter at least 1 category of 2023 regional award competition. You can submit your homework award, your HIA project, or your college project, or your regional project. So submit any of them would consider enter the award of regional competition. Next, please. And lastly, the 5-star level. I know it's a lot to read, but don't worry, I will summarize for you. The key word here in 5-star level is honor in action. which Anthony just talked about, and getting involved at the international level. To fulfill five-star level, first, you and your chapter need to develop a Honor in Action, HIA project. Second is submit at least 3 entries in the 2023 Hallmark Award, including Honor in Action Project Award, College Project Award, and at least 1 individual award. The third is chapter representatives getting involved at the international level and in at least one of following ways. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, we have 4 ways, and you only need to choose one. So number 1, option 1, attending PTK Catalyst. So Catalyst is the largest international meeting we have every once a year. And this year we already had it in Denver, and next year we will have it in Columbus, Ohio on April 7 to April 9. Option 2, at least 3 officers or member complete any unit in a PTK Edge course. So we currently have 5 PTK Edge program and 1 incoming, 1 new incoming. And we will talk about this in detail in the next section. Option 3, at least 3 officers or members complete at least 1 unit in PTK's Leadership Development Study course. So similar to the Edge program, it is a course, it is a program, and they have a really good material on leadership skill in this one. So I highly recommend you guys to take it. And the fourth is Honor Case Study Challenge. This is you or your chapter write a case study based on the recent news that are related to our current honor study topic. Okay. The winner can win $500, which is pretty cool. And next, please. Thank you. Finally, is to remember to submit your report before the deadline, which is January 20, 2023, as headquarters do not accept any late report. I will pass it back to Jessie.
Hi, so thank you. Based on our time so far, we might go a little bit over time. So if you can stay like 5 or 10 minutes, we'd really appreciate that. I have added a whole section on hallmarks. If not, the recording's available and we'll be sending out the PowerPoint. So I want to speak a little bit about Competitive Edge. So Competitive Edge is one of the leadership development courses that Phi Theta Kappa offers. If you want to start with any of the professional development courses to get a feel for it, this is the one I would recommend for you. And the video does a much better job at explaining it than I do. So it's about a minute. I'll show you guys right now. Oh, let me share my sound. Share sound. Oop. Share sound. All right.
Hey, it's a big world out there. Jobs, scholarships, transfer opportunities, they're all competitive. Having the grades or the degree is no longer enough. Lots of people have those. In a world that's this competitive, you simply must have an edge that prepares you with soft skills to rise above the competition. Competitive Edge now delivers more of the personal and professional development you need to get the 5-star Competitive Edge. Life's competitive. Get an edge.
All right, so what exactly is the edge now that we know how it can benefit us and how it can impact both our professional and career development? Well,
hey, it's a big world out there. Jobs, scholarships, transfer opportunities.
Okay, that was crazy. So the purpose of this is a professional development course to enhance your marketable skills, and it makes you more competitive when it comes to scholarships, transferring, and careers. Remember, this is a professional development course, so if you complete it, that is something that you can actually add on to your resume. Say that I completed a Phi Theta Kappa Honor Society professional development course. And so again, this is a great way to market yourself and show you as having an advantage over the people who you are competing against. So why participate? Well, first, you're learning things. So this is a great way to increase your soft skills. You're also creating a career development plan. Again, it's something you can add on to anything you apply for. And you're also gaining a competitive advantage. This is something that when people are looking at your applications, That's something that they may not have, but that you have, and that makes you stand up above the crowd. So a quote we have here is, it's easier to hire people who can write and teach them how to read financial statements rather than hire accountants in hopes of teaching them to be strong writers. And so this kind of just emphasizes the fact that building these skills is really important when it comes to your professional development. So the competitive edge is actually very simple. I surprised myself when I opened it and started doing it, but it includes readings that are very short, like PowerPoint slide readings, videos. They have very easy questions. If you kind of read the PowerPoints, watched the short videos, they're very simple to answer. They have these activities to practice your skills and a personal reflection journal. Again, it's very, very simple. You should probably take the time to understand it, but I have known that some people have finished it overnight. So it's really, if you put yourself out to the task of completing it, it's something that's 100% possible to do. So when it comes to topics, it has the think module, the grow module, the connect module, the collaborate module, and the perform module. And I've listed here kind of like the subtopics of what each big module talks about. So here are some more detailed into what each one kind of covers, and it's the think talks more about critical thinking, creative thinking, analytical, just the different ways that you can kind of approach a problem. Grow kind of talks about self-esteem, self-awareness. It also mentioned mental health. I'm a psychology major, so I always appreciate when mental health is a topic that is taught to students. It also has connect, and it talks about speech anxiety, how to present yourself, public speaking. Collaboration talks about building relationships and career growth, dealing with conflict, giving and receiving feedback. And perform is talking about professionalism, how you can adapt to your environment, your work ethic, diversity and inclusion. And all of these are just really great topics that are very big points in the work field right now. So competitive edge recognition, when you complete it, you can actually purchase a virtual badge of completion. I think you receive a virtual badge of completion, but we actually have a physical pin that you can purchase from the PTK store website. It enhances your letters of recommendations, like tell the people that are writing about you, hey, I have this competitive edge completed. This is also a really great resume addition and an opportunity, like I mentioned, the opportunity to purchase a competitive edge pin. We actually have a picture of it on the slide later. So you can get the PTK Edge at getanedge.ptk.org. It is self-paced. You can complete it. I remember completing maybe 1 or 2 modules in January, got a little bit busy with school, and then finished the rest when my school kind of let up. It's not going to say like, oh, you didn't complete it within a certain amount of time, therefore you don't qualify. Work at your own pace. The most important part is that it gets done. And it's open to advisors and alumni, and just a really great program. And if you're a member already, this is a completely free program. So this is what the pin looks like. We actually pin at regional conventions and conferences. So if you let us know that, hey, you received a competitive edge, you finished it, then we can actually give you a pin to recognize you for that. And this is the only professional development course that we actually pin you at the conferences. All right. So career development plan and kind of how you can use this to create a path towards your dream job. Remember, we're looking at education when it comes to degrees, certificates, licenses, scholarship, future job outlook, and all of these things. We have professional development courses to help aid you in a lot of these. There's like the healthcare edge, the research edge, and if you can utilize those to help any of these milestones when it comes to your professional career development, then utilize those. You're already a member, utilize the resources that are available to you. All right, so kind of like my bonus round, we didn't have this in Spring Summit, so I'm excited about this. And the reason why I call it a little bonus round is because it's very fresh. We just got this information from headquarters, our whole regional team, well, almost our whole regional team. We went to the Mississippi headquarters, and we received information to bring back to you. And this is one of the workshops that I attended from Susan Edwards. If that name sounds familiar, it's the name that wrote the honors program guide. So if you've been reading up on that for your HIA, the author of that presented the information. So these are from my notes that I took from her presentation, and I hope this benefits you because I know that Hallmark Award writing time is coming near, and I just want to give you guys like a boost of encouragement. You got this. All right, so first of all, deadlines. The main part of it is that it gets submitted. So if you have everything right, but you don't submit it, that's a really big discount over there. So make sure it gets submitted. Of course, we know that you want to submit a quality one as well. But remember, at the end of the day, the deadline should always be at the back of your head. And these deadlines are hard deadlines. They're not going to extend them for you. So if it helps you, maybe want to give yourself a soft deadline, say maybe 2 weeks ahead, we want to get this done, so that by the time the deadline hits, all you have to do is press submit and set, or you can even submit it early. But you don't want to be like the deadline hits and the night before everything's scrambling to get it done. Give yourself that cushion time. So take a screenshot, write these down, and make sure you don't miss them. Okay, first is the organize and plan entries. When you're writing your Hallmark Award entries, you want to document the whole process. Remember, these judges did not sit with you to go through the whole project. So you want to give that to them in the most concise way possible. And the best way to do that is if you kept a journal, which as Anthony had mentioned, you should probably be documenting when you're going to your meetings, is look back at your journals and think about, well, what did we do? And then brainstorm with others. Well, how can we convey what we did? And then plan how you want to present your entry. Be careful with careless mistakes. I think what I meant with this one is like winners score like really high. And so literally the person that didn't make it into the chapter that doesn't make it into the top winning could be by a fraction of a point. And so that you want to be careful with any careless mistakes you might make, because like the spelling and the grammar, those are things that you could easily miss, and that might be the difference between winning an award or not. Okay, so walk the judges through the process. As I mentioned, they didn't go through this project with you, so you're going to be the one that shows them how it works. So show them like what exactly did you do? You want to use measurable objectives, write down things that may seem very obvious. You may think like, oh, I'm going to imply that I did something, but then again, they didn't know what you do. So if you want to convey something, write that down to them that, hey, we did this. So for example, that they gave us is when it comes to, as Anthony mentioned, the personal growth and development aspect to it. I have on here on the last PowerPoint, on the last bullet, how did you grow as scholars and leaders? Well, instead of just saying, well, we grew as scholars and leaders, how did you grow? Maybe one of the examples that she gave us was, well, we had to learn about budgeting. We had to learn financing skills because we didn't have the funds to make this project happen. So we had to learn budgeting skills. In the example they gave us, the chapter had built a garden. Well, then they had to learn gardening skills in order to actually build the garden. So that's how the development and the type of learning that they had to do in order to make that happen. You want to use your word count very carefully. And this was something I found very interesting while listening to her presentation, was that you need to be careful with your adjectives. Adjectives can kind of turn into fluff a little bit. So if you go in, right, and you have a whole bunch, we creatively, we astonishingly, we wonderfully committed this project. One of the things that Miss Edwards had said was, well, let the judges tell you, like the judges kind of figure out, well, that was very creative of you. Well, that was very wonderful of you. That was astonishing that you did that. Let them read it and take that adjectives. Don't fill it up with adjectives for the judges. Allow yourself enough space to properly convey what you did and let your work show the judges what kind of add those adjectives themselves. You want to use quantitative and qualitative data. If you can, collect that information when it comes to your actions. Find that information. If you were doing social media, look at your analytics. Provide them that information to compare it to. Measurability is very important, but it's not the numbers and how big they are. It's about actually providing them with that data and also showing them that you went full circle with your process. PTK is all about just finishing the process, even if it was a very small project, even if it's your first project. As long as you go full circle with it, that's what is important. So for honors and action, I want you to think about intentional research. Did you talk with your collaborators? Did you impact your community? Did you make a global implications? Did you learn something? And did you grow as scholars and leaders? Honors and action, the main focus is really intentional research. What was your goal in this? What did you learn? What did you do with the things that you've learned about? College project. So college project, I always say this whenever I present it. College project, the main thing is always the relationship between your chapter and your college. When you're writing about it, go back to your college's mission statement, your strategic priorities, your vision for your college. You can find those all on your college website. Did you work together with your administration to make this happen? This has to be something that both you and your administration work together to make happen, because it's kind of like a joint project. Talk about your preparation, your leadership, your communication, and your cooperative effort and impact. Yes, your action, your service, whatever you did is important, but at the end of the day, did that affect your relationship with your administration in a positive way? And also just the presentation of it all. How did it all tie in together, and how were you able to kind of make it happen? So again, with college project, go back to the point of, did the relationship with your administration improve? Use, again, measurable objectives. Write down, I just said this earlier, but let's just say, make sure that everything that you do, whether it's college project or HIA, that again, use the same skills that you're using in both projects, that you're able to properly convey what seems very obvious to you, that you're making sure that you're being mindful of the word count, that you're using enough words to convey your point, but also not utilizing way too much fluff in there, and also just make sure your data is there. And right to the rubric. The rubric, we kind of showed you very briefly, but that's things you can find on the PTK website. Go back to the rubric, read about it. It's divided into 3 major components: academic rigor for research, service and action, and impact. Go back to it, read about it, and make sure that you are properly answering and fulfilling each of those blocks. Pay attention to detail. One of the things that they mentioned as an advice to us is find a strong writer. Even if that writer is not even involved in your project, find that writer and tell them what to write about, and then have that writer document it. Then you can proofread and edit and proofread and edit again, but that strong writer gave a great base for you to start with. You can make sure that each question is answered, and make sure that your answer is directly addressing the question. You don't want to create a whole paragraph, and at the end of the day, it didn't even answer the question to begin with. So make sure you are reading the question, answering it. And one of the things that Miss Christine, though, I don't know if she's still here, one of the things that she taught me when I was writing the hallmarks for regionally was, she said, take the words in the question and put it into your answer so that you can be sure you specifically answered the question. And I've been taking that and I've been applying that to everything that I do write-ups for, even my applications to university. Put the words that the question is answering. If it's asking for, like, how did you develop as a leader, put the word I developed as a leader because into your answer, so that way you know for sure you address the question 100%. So we're going to stay a little bit afterwards, after the recording ends, to answer any general Q&A that you guys have for us. We're the regional officer team. We are here to help you. We're also available through email. The recording and the PowerPoint for this will be sent out. I believe I have one more slide on the upcoming events. So Spring Convention 2023 is on Friday, March 24th. Oh, I missed a space there. It's at 5 p.m. Saturday, and it goes till March 25th at 10 p.m. And it's at Kellogg West Conference Center in Pomona, California. And this is the place where we present regional awards. So if after you submitted your HIA and your college project, this is usually a super duper fun convention, because you go there and all the chapters are riled up about what their projects won. And it's just so rewarding to be able to see how you did and how we can acknowledge you, recognize you, and just appreciate you for being a well-performing chapter in our region, and how we're just proud of Nevada, California. And also regional officer applications are going to be opening somewhere around January. So we will be really pushing out on why you should be a regional officer, present like we are today. And we will have officer webinars. We'll be hosting them where you can pop in and kind of ask us questions, and we will answer them as a team. Kind of like, think of it kind of like office hours. We can answer our experiences, how we're able to balance school and life, and you can ask questions and we can help convince you to be regional officer. So applications are opening up soon. So just want to put that out there. If you're interested, if you're going to continue being in community college, that's definitely something you should check out. And that concludes our Nevada, California Regional Summit. Thank you.